If I lost everything today, no money, no connections, no followers, I wouldn't panic. I'd smile. Why? Because the formula for wealth doesn't live in my bank account, it lives in my mindset. And in 2025, opportunity is everywhere for those who know how to move with strategy, not emotion. If I had to start over in 2025, I wouldn't rush to build a product. I wouldn't chase trends. I wouldn't start with an LLC or fancy website. I'd start with me, with building a high income skill, because before you can multiply income, you've got to control how it comes in. You need a skill that prints money on demand. That's your leverage. That's your power. Let me be real with you. Most people think a business is the key to freedom. It's not. Skill is. See, business without skill is just stress. It's fancy branding with no buyers. It's debt without demand. But a person with a skill that solves a painful problem will never go broke. You can strip away their title, their followers, their platform. But if they've got a skill, they can rebuild again and again. Because skills are portable. Skills are recession-proof. Skills are transferable. You can carry them into any industry, any country, and any crisis. If I had to choose one skill in 2025 to master first, it would be sales, because sales is the root skill of all business. If you can't sell, you can't eat. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if you can't communicate that value, it's invisible. Sales isn't about pushing a product, it's about transferring belief. It's about showing someone the cost of staying stuck and inviting them into transformation. Sales is service, and once you master it, doors open fast. Now maybe sales doesn't sound sexy to you. That's fine, but let me ask you, do you want to be free? Or do you want to be comfortable? Freedom demands that you master what most avoid. If I had no job, no backup plan, and no followers, I could get on the phone with 100 people, find their pain, present a solution, and get paid. That's the power of skill. That's how I'd start over. But sales isn't the only skill. In 2025, there are more high-income skills available than ever before. Copywriting is one, the ability to sell through the written word. Imagine writing emails, landing pages, or ads that produce revenue while you sleep. Companies pay thousands for a single sales page because words move wallets. A copywriter can write their own check with nothing but a laptop and internet. Another is digital marketing. Learning how to drive attention and turn it into conversions is gold. Every business wants more leads, more customers, more traffic. And if you know how to deliver that, you are never unemployed. Whether it's paid ads, content strategy, or funnel optimization, these are the skills that make the online economy spin. Let's talk about offer creation. The skill of designing a compelling offer that solves a painful problem is a form of business architecture. Most people don't fail in business because they're lazy. They fail because their offer is confusing, weak, or not solving anything urgent. But if you know how to craft an irresistible offer, you can take any product, wrap it in clarity, scarcity, and value, and people will line up to buy. That's a skill. Even storytelling, yes, storytelling, is a high-income skill. The person who can tell a compelling story is the one who owns the room, leads the team, closes the client, raises the money. In 2025, content is currency. People want transformation, not information, and transformation travels through story. Here's the thing, skills are not built by watching. They're built by working. You don't become a skilled person by taking one course or reading one book. You do it by practicing relentlessly, failing forward, and seeking feedback. When I say start with skill, I don't mean you spend the next 5 years preparing. I mean you pick one lane, you go deep, and you commit. You build your reps, you serve others, you turn skill into cash flow. Then that cash flow funds your business, your investments, and your next moves. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack a skill stack. Your income will never rise higher than your skill set allows. You don't get paid for time. You get paid for value, and value is always backed by skill. When you start with a high income skill, you take back control. You don't have to beg for jobs. You don't have to wait for permission. You can create your own opportunities. You can find a business owner who needs help, solve a problem for them, and get paid today. No inventory, no loans, no delays. That's what I'd do. That's how I'd build a new future from scratch. If I had to start over in 2025, I wouldn't waste a single second trying to sell something just because it looks good or sounds trendy. I wouldn't build a product that I thought was cool or creative. I'd do something far more profitable and far more powerful. I'd find a painful problem and build a real solution. That's how businesses win. Not with hype, not with aesthetics, but with impact. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. People don't buy products. They buy solutions. They buy outcomes. They buy relief. If your offer doesn't touch a nerve, if it doesn't ease a burden or erase a pain, you'll struggle to sell it no matter how beautiful it is. I've seen people spend months building a course, a product, a coaching package, only to realize they never asked, what pain does this actually solve? That's the fatal flaw, and that's why most businesses die before they even start. Pain is the most powerful motivator in the marketplace. People move faster to avoid pain than they do to gain pleasure. That means the moment you stop trying to impress people and start trying to relieve their suffering, you become valuable, you become essential. In 2025, people are overwhelmed, confused, anxious, burnt out, and looking for clarity. If you can be the bridge between their current struggle and their desired solution, they will gladly pay you. So if I had nothing, no followers, no capital, and no brand, I'd start by asking one question. Whose pain can I solve right now? I wouldn't think big, I'd think specific. Not how can I help people be healthier, but how can I help busy working moms lose 15 pounds without going to the gym? Not how can I help people start a business, but how can I help barbers go from $3K/month to $10K/month without burning out? Specificity solves, vague ideas starve. When you find a specific pain and serve a specific person, your business becomes a magnet. People feel like you're speaking directly to them. They trust you more. They listen longer. They buy faster. And you don't have to be a genius to make this work. Just have to be observant. Look around. Every frustration you see in people's lives is a potential business. Every complaint, every confusion, every bottleneck, it's a blueprint for a solution. Here's another truth. Sometimes the painful problem you're called to solve is the one you've already lived through. You've been broke, depressed, insecure, addicted, stuck, and now you're out. That means you have insight, you have experience, and experience is more valuable than information. People want someone who understands their pain, not just someone who lectures from a stage. If you can say, I know what that feels like, and I know the way out, you've already got what most marketers are trying to fake. But solving a painful problem doesn't just mean having a great idea. It means building a clear offer. An offer is the bridge between the pain and the solution. It must be simple, specific, and results-driven. Most people think their offer is their product. It's not. Your offer is the promise you make to solve the pain. That's what people buy. They don't care about your process. They care about the result. I'll help you get X result in Y time without Z struggle. That's what converts. That's what moves people. In 2025, attention spans are short and competition is high. That's why solving pain is non-negotiable. Because when you solve pain, you don't compete. You dominate. You're not just another business in the marketplace. You're a necessity. You're the aspirin for their headache, not the candy they can scroll past, and people will always make room in their budget for what solves their suffering. When I say focus on solving pain, I don't mean you have to be perfect. I mean you have to care enough to understand what your audience is actually going through. Too many entrepreneurs are guessing. They're creating in isolation. But if you take the time to listen, to research, to ask, what's your biggest struggle right now? You'll never run out of things to solve, and when you solve, you get paid. You don't need a factory. You don't need a warehouse. You don't need inventory. You need clarity. Clarity about who you serve, what they're going through, and how you can help. That's the root of every great business. And it's how I'd rebuild everything if I had to start from scratch. If I had to start over in 2025, I'd build a personal brand, not just for popularity, but for profit. But here's the key. I wouldn't treat it like a hobby. I'd treat it like a business, because in this era, your personal brand isn't just your identity. It's your equity. It's not just about going viral or being seen. It's about being valuable, being trusted, being known for solving a specific problem with authority and consistency. Now, most people hear personal brand and think of selfies, slogans, and shallow content. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about making noise. I'm talking about creating movement. There's a massive difference between someone who posts content for attention and someone who shows up with clarity, conviction, and a call to action. That's what separates influence from impact, and noise from revenue. If I had nothing, no list, no followers, no traffic, I'd start showing up online every single day with a clear message. I'd choose one problem, one audience, and one promise, and I'd talk about it over and over again until the right people couldn't ignore me. I wouldn't try to impress everyone. I'd speak to someone, and the more I spoke to them, the more they would see me as a solution, not a stranger. I'd pick a platform where I could best communicate my strengths. If I'm great on camera, I'd lean into video, YouTube, Reels, Shorts. If I'm a strong writer, I'd use threads, email, and long-form content, but I wouldn't try to master everything at once. I'd focus, because omnipresence is built through consistency, not chaos. Better to dominate one platform than scatter yourself across 5 and never be remembered. The mistake most people make is treating their personal brand like a side project. They post randomly. They lack a core message. They don't link their content to an offer. But if I had to rebuild from scratch, I'd start every piece of content with strategy. I'd ask, what pain am I addressing? What belief am I shifting? What solution am I pointing toward? Because every video, every post, every email, it's not just content, it's marketing, it's leadership, it's a seed that produces clients when sown with intention. I'd also design my personal brand with positioning in mind, not just who I am, but how I'm perceived. Your personal brand is how the market remembers you. Do they see you as credible or casual? Do they see you as a luxury brand or a discount one? It's not about faking it. It's about aligning your visual presence, your tone, and your messaging with the price you plan to command. People don't buy based on truth. They buy based on perception. And if your perception is off, your profits will be too. But I wouldn't just be a content creator. I'd be a business owner. I'd link every piece of visibility to a lead magnet, a sales funnel, or a call to action. Because likes don't pay bills, views don't create wealth, offers do. So every time I showed up, I'd be planting the idea that I have a solution to a painful problem, and I'd make it clear how people can work with me. I'd treat my audience not like fans, but like future clients. I'd nurture them with value. I'd build trust with consistency. And when the offer dropped, they'd already be ready. In 2025, trust is the new currency, and trust is built through authenticity, value, and repetition. People don't just want expertise, They want relatability. They want to know your story, your process, your wins, your losses. That's why your personal brand matters. It's your bridge between human connection and market credibility. When people trust you, they buy faster and stay longer. And that's how you build not just income, but influence. One of the biggest advantages of a personal brand is leverage. Once you build trust at scale, you can launch anything, a book, a course, a service, a community, and because people already know you, like you, and respect your process, you don't have to convince them from scratch. Your content has already done the heavy lifting. That's the beauty of building in public, your marketing before the sale happens, and here's what most people miss. Your personal brand is an asset. It appreciates with consistency. Every piece of content is a digital soldier working for you while you sleep. Every testimonial, every transformation, every value drop it compounds over time. So while others are chasing the next gimmick, I'd be focused on building something that builds back, something that lasts, something that earns while I live and impacts after I'm gone. Because in 2025, people may forget your product, but they won't forget how your voice made them feel, how your message gave them hope, and how your solution changed their life. And that's why I'd build a personal brand, and I'd build it like a business from day one. If I had to start over in 2025, I wouldn't waste time trying to serve everyone. I wouldn't chase low-ticket buyers. I wouldn't try to be everything to everyone. And I certainly wouldn't underprice what I bring to the table. I'd craft a premium offer that solves one specific problem for one specific person, because clarity is power, and when you show up with precision, you become irresistible to the right client and invisible to the wrong one. Most entrepreneurs fail not because they lack talent or work ethic, but because their offer is too vague, too weak, or too scattered. They create packages full of fluff, hoping more features will equal more value. But more is not better. Specific is better. In 2025, people are not paying for your time, they are paying for a result. They don't care how long your program is, how many videos it includes, or how pretty your website looks. They care about one thing: can you solve their problem faster and better than anyone else? That's what a premium offer does. It simplifies your promise, magnifies your value, and eliminates competition. A premium offer doesn't mean expensive for no reason. It means effective. It means you know exactly who you're serving, what they're struggling with, and how to take them from pain to peace in the shortest, clearest way possible. Let me give it to you straight. Cheap products attract uncertain buyers. Premium offers attract decisive ones. When people pay more, they pay more attention. They show up committed. They take action. They get results. If I had to build a business from scratch, I wouldn't waste time selling $47 digital product, hoping for thousands of sales. I'd build a $3,000 solution and sell it to 10 people. That's $30,000 with less energy, less stress, and far more impact. But here's the part most people miss. A premium offer doesn't start with what you want to sell. It starts with what they need solved. That means market research. That means listening more than you talk. That means asking questions like, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? What would your life look like if that problem was gone? What have you tried already that didn't work? When you get those answers, you're no longer guessing. You're building a solution that people are already searching for. And once you know the problem, your offer becomes the bridge. The mistake most people make is stuffing the offer with tasks instead of outcomes. They focus on what they'll do, calls, PDFs, modules, instead of what their client will become. But nobody buys coaching or consulting or service. They buy transformation. So your offer needs to make a bold promise, backed by your process, and framed by a powerful guarantee or result. I'd build the offer with a client journey in mind, not just a list of deliverables, but a strategic path. Step 1, identify where they are. Step 2, define exactly where they want to be. Step 3, create a step-by-step method that bridges that gap. That's what premium buyers want. Simplicity, clarity, confidence. They're not paying for your time, they're paying to avoid wasting theirs. Now let's talk pricing. Pricing is positioning. If you underprice your offer, you send a message, this isn't that valuable. But when you price it according to the outcome, not the effort, you position yourself as a premium solution. And remember, people don't pay for effort, they pay for certainty. When you show up as the guide with the clearest path, the highest conviction, and the deepest understanding of their pain, you can charge what you're worth without apology. A premium offer also allows you to serve better. You're not overwhelmed. With low-paying, high-maintenance clients, you can focus, go deep, and deliver transformational value. You can customize your process. You can build relationships. You can get better results. And those results become your marketing. One client breakthrough is worth more than 1,000 impressions. And when your offer is built to create breakthroughs, your business starts to grow by word of mouth, not just advertising. If I were starting over, I'd start premium, not because I'm greedy, but because I understand leverage. A premium offer allows you to scale with grace, to build a small, powerful client base, to invest more in delivery, to hire help, to grow your business on solid ground instead of shaky sales volume. Because real wealth isn't built through burnout, it's built through strategy. And the most strategic move you can make in 2025 is to solve one painful problem for one person in one premium way. That's how you rise above the noise. That's how you stop chasing and start attracting. That's how you build not just a business, but a movement. One clear, powerful offer at a time. If I had to start over in 2025, I wouldn't build funnels first. I wouldn't worry about brand colors, websites, or social media likes. I'd master one skill above all else, sales, because sales is the lifeblood of business. It's not a department. It's not a technique. It's not something you outsource and forget. Sales is the ability to transfer conviction, create clarity, and move people from indecision to action. If you can't sell, you can't lead, you can't scale, you can't survive. Sales isn't about talking fast or using pressure. It's about understanding people. It's about seeing their pain clearly, articulating it better than they can, and guiding them toward a better future. When you know how to sell, you don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you posture. You show up in the marketplace as a solution, not a salesman. And when people feel understood, they trust you. When they trust you, they buy. In 2025, where people are overwhelmed with options and short on attention, the person who can communicate the clearest wins. That's what sales is. It's not convincing, it's clarifying. When I'm on a sales call, I'm not trying to push a product. I'm diagnosing a problem. I'm asking the right questions. I'm listening for pain, because if I can help someone see what's really costing them, financially, emotionally, mentally, then the price of my solution becomes cheap in comparison to the price of staying stuck. And make no mistake, sales is service. If you believe in what you offer, if you know it can truly help someone, then selling it is an act of love. Not offering it would be selfish. That's how I approach every conversation. I don't try to close people. I try to serve them so clearly, so confidently, that they make a decision that changes their life. Sales is not about pressure. It's about permission, giving someone the courage and clarity to say yes to transformation. If I had to start over, I'd practice every single day. I'd role play. I'd read books. I'd watch recordings. I'd invest in mentors. I'd get on 100 calls and fail if I had to. Because every failed call is a step toward mastery. Sales is a skill. That means it's learnable. It's not a talent some are born with. It's a muscle you can build. And in 2025, It's the most valuable muscle you can flex. But I wouldn't stop at learning sales for myself. I'd immediately start building a team and teaching them how to sell with the same integrity and clarity. Because if your business depends on you doing every sale, it's not scalable. It's fragile. The moment you step away, the revenue stops. That's why leadership is not just doing, it's duplicating. If I want freedom, I've got to empower others to carry the message and close the deal with the same passion and precision I do. Teaching sales isn't about scripts. It's about principles. I'd teach my team how to listen, how to uncover pain, how to ask hard questions, how to position the offer, and how to hold the frame. I'd help them build their confidence, not just memorize lines, because people don't buy from perfect robots, they buy from certain humans. If my team is confident, clear, and truly cares about the customer's outcome, they can close deals with ease, and our clients will thank them for it. I'd also install a system for feedback. Every call recorded, every objection studied, every win analyzed. Because sales isn't static, it evolves, the market shifts, buyer psychology changes, and the team must grow with it. In 2025, businesses that win are obsessed with mastery. They're not casual about communication. They know that every sale funds the mission. Every sale makes the vision possible. There's also a multiplier effect that happens when a sales-driven culture is created. The team becomes energized. The revenue becomes predictable. The delivery improves because you're working with clients who are properly qualified and educated. The entire business rises because everyone is aligned around one thing, solving real problems and offering real transformation. If I had to start over, I wouldn't be intimidated by sales. I'd run toward it, because selling with integrity doesn't make you pushy. It makes you powerful. It doesn't make you manipulative. It makes you magnetic. And when you master the art of selling, you master the art of building belief in your prospect, your team, and yourself. That's the skill I'd bet on in any economy, in any market, at any time. It's the skill that builds income, leadership, and legacy. And if I had to build it all back again, I'd start with sales, then I'd multiply it through others, because one person who can sell can make a living, but a team that can sell can build an empire. If I had to start over in 2025, I wouldn't operate from panic, hype, or hustle. I wouldn't build my business based on what's trending or what's urgent. I'd build it on principles, timeless, unshakable, tested truths that don't bend under pressure. Because when you move with principles, you create peace. But when you move with pressure, you create chaos. And chaos might bring short-term results, but it always guarantees long-term burnout. Everyone wants speed. Everyone wants shortcuts. Everyone wants viral growth and overnight wins. But what most don't realize is that without principle, fast growth becomes fast failure. It's like building a skyscraper on sand. You might impress a few people with how high it goes, but eventually it all collapses. So if I had to start fresh, I'd start slow. But I'd start right. I'd focus on building a foundation that could handle the weight of my vision. The principle of discipline would come first. Discipline over emotion. Because business isn't about how you feel, it's about what you do. Consistently, when nobody's watching. In 2025, distractions are everywhere. There's always another opportunity, another voice, another excuse to quit. But when you operate by discipline, you don't move based on motivation. You move based on commitment. I'd set non-negotiable hours to work on my craft. I'd show up whether I felt like it or not. Because discipline compounds, and over time, what starts small becomes unstoppable. I'd operate by the principle of stewardship. Steward what I have before asking for more. If I only had one client, I'd serve them like they were 100. If I only had one follower, I'd deliver so much value they'd never forget me. Stewardship isn't about waiting until you make it to act with excellence. It's about treating your current season like sacred ground, because how you manage the small determines whether you're trusted with the big. In a world chasing more, I'd master managing what is. Then I'd build by the principle of patience, not passivity. Patience, knowing that real success isn't microwaved, it's marinated, and sometimes the delay is your protection. Sometimes the pause is your preparation. If I had to start over, I wouldn't rush the process. I'd respect it. I'd play the long game because short-term urgency is useful, but long-term patience is powerful. People are in such a rush to go viral they forget to go deep. But depth creates roots, and roots sustain fruit. I'd also lead by the principle of integrity, doing the right thing when it costs, when it's quiet, and when nobody else would even know. If I promised something in my offer, I'd overdeliver. If a client wasn't a good fit, I'd say no, because every compromise you make for money becomes a crack in the character of your business, and eventually cracks show. Integrity isn't a branding strategy, it's a legacy strategy. You might make less upfront, but you earn the trust that opens doors you didn't even know existed. The principle of clarity would guide every decision. I wouldn't build 10 things at once. I'd build one thing well. I get clear on who I serve, what problem I solve, and how I solve it better than anyone else. Clarity kills confusion, and confusion is the killer of conversions, momentum, and belief. So if I had to rebuild, I'd block out the noise, remove distractions, and pursue clarity like my life depended on it. Because in business, it kind of does. I'd also live by the principle of generosity, not just giving money, but giving value, giving attention, giving time. In 2025, generosity is your greatest marketing strategy. When people feel seen, helped, and respected before they pay you, they don't need to be convinced, they're compelled. I'd show up online giving 10x the value most people hide behind a paywall, not because I'm trying to give away the farm, but because I know value multiplies. What you give from the heart always comes back in ways you can't predict. And finally, I'd build with principle of faith, not blind belief, but bold expectation, knowing that if I plant, I will harvest, that if I stay in alignment with purpose and truth, the right doors will open. I wouldn't build based on fear of missing out. I wouldn't copy what everyone else is doing. I'd move with peace, not pressure, with intention, not impulse. Because when your business is rooted in faith, you don't need to force every outcome. You trust the process, stay obedient to the mission, and let results flow from alignment, not anxiety. If I had to start from scratch, I wouldn't chase a moment, I'd build a movement, and movements aren't built on pressure. They're built on principles. They're built slow, deep, and strong. And that's the kind of business that lasts.